Greetings! I'm Troy Newham, the author of 2084, The Search for Love, Hope, and Faith. It's available on Amazon.com and Kindle and paperback versions. I also maintain a blog at swampfoxpress.com. It's a libertarian blog. I hope you read it. I think you'll like it. And this week's message from Moses is going to be about all the crap that's happening in the Middle East. Now, don't you think it's just coincidental that on September 11th, all these riots started happening across every major city in the Middle East? U.S. embassies being stormed left and right. Boom, ba boom, ba boom. You know, people dying in Libya. Embassies being set on fire. And of course we're supposed to believe that it's all because some Muslims are upset because there's an internet movie out there making fun of the Prophet Muhammad. Which is a lie. They don't care. I mean, if it's not that movie, they would pick something else. They could go with Michael Savage. He's always harping on the Muslims. Or, you know, any of these people who have a general problem with Muslim extremists. They could just easily say, they're painting all Muslims in a terrible light. They could pick on, you know, our national security forces targeting Muslim organizations as possible terrorist groups, blah, 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 blah. They could find a reason. This is just, you know, something they picked as an excuse on September 11th to storm our embassies and try to get us out of those host countries. Okay? Now, I would like to talk about our response to this. The embassy in Cairo, before it happened, I'm going to go ahead and say it was before. Won't try to make it about, oh, this was our response to it. It was before. Fair enough. Still disagree with it, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But before it happened, they issued a press release which basically said, we're sorry that some people use their freedom of speech to hurt the feelings of religious people, and that's wrong. You know what? We are America. We're supposed to stand up for the freedom of speech. I remember back when Bush was president, and I believe he was a Danish guy, drew a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, and he had a bomb in his turban. And the Muslims said, how dare you insinuate that our prophet was some suicide bomber? Just for that, we're going to strap bombs to our chest and blow up your buildings. What? Do you understand irony, people? But Bush came out and said, it is irresponsible for someone to draw such a cartoon. You know what? No. He has every right to draw that cartoon. He doesn't have a right to strap a bomb on his chest and go up, blowing up buildings. He doesn't have the right. He has the right to draw. He can be offended. He can scream and yell and cry or whatever he wants to do. You know what he can't do? He can't strap a bomb to his chest, blow up innocent people. He can't do that. We can. We can make a terrible, terrible, sucky, god-awful, crappy production values movie. They can't storm our embassy, tear up our flag, and kill our ambassadors. You see the difference here? Do you understand, you know, the moral inequity of these two events here? So, one, they say, you need to stop all Americans from ever making fun of Muslims, and there is a movement to have an international law where it will make slandering the Islamic religion a international crime. Okay, what about Scientologists? Do we have to stop making fun of them? Mormons? Because if so, you know, the Book of Mormon needs to give back all its Tony Awards or whatever it won, because all it did was mock someone's religion. You know, it's, you know, this is the one religion you're not allowed to make fun of. Can you make fun of Christians? Oh, God, yes. Matter of fact, this movie reminds me of so much of, you know, shows, movies that made fun of Christianity. There's a scene where, you know, I watched the trailer. There was a scene where Muhammad's wife was chasing him around, switching him. And it really reminded me of one of these stupid movies where, like, the Virgin Mary is sleeping with all these guys, and then when she gets pregnant, says, oh, it must be an immaculate conception. And are Christians offended? You betcha. Do they go on the internet and leave really nasty posts about the movie? You betcha. Do they strap a bomb on their chest and blow? No. No, we don't do that. Why? Because it's wrong? Because our hurt feelings doesn't equal taking the life of another? And I really don't care if that's their moral imperative. It's incorrect, and we shouldn't, you know, change our freedom of speech to accommodate the fact that they are incorrect. They're in the wrong, and we shouldn't limit our freedom of speech. They need to grow up, and they need to not blow up buildings just because they're offended. You know, now the question then becomes, how do our news organizations react to it? Well, Romney gets out there and he says, "How dare you issue an apology and not stand up for the freedom of speech," which is actually right. And they would counter, "It was before it happened, Romney. You don't know. How dare you speak out of turn and try to, politicize Libya." It is a political thing. You know why? Because the security of the world, national security, the fact that our embassies are burning, that's what you call an issue. This isn't criticizing Obama because he spends too much time playing golf, or how he's raising his kids, or the fact that his wife wants to make you eat certain foods, or blah, 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 blah. No, this is a legitimate concern. This has to do with the legitimate running of our government and our national security. And he has every right to question it. He has every right to criticize it. And quite honestly, I don't care if it was issued before or after. One, our Marines had no bullets in their guns. It's kind of hard to defend something with no bullets in your gun. What's up with that? That needs to be done away with. If I was running things over there, not only would the guards have bullets in their guns, I would require everybody to wear a sidearm at all possible times. And the way they should have reacted was they shouldn't have issued that statement. They should have asked the Egyptian government to come in, evacuate all women and children, and every man in that place should have stood and defended U.S. soil to the man until they were all dead, because it would have been overrun and they all would have died. And I know what you're saying. It's easy for you to say that, and how dare you, human life is valuable, blah, blah, blah. We expect no less from our military people, do we? We expect them to fight and die for our country. Why do we expect less from a diplomat? That was U.S. soil, and we cowered in it and begged for mercy. It looked weak. And honestly, if we had stood to the last man, the Egyptian people would have been the villains. It was a peaceful embassy. It was stormed, and everyone was murdered. There you go. That would have been a story. Instead, what do we get? We get public outcry. You really need to take that video down. It's making everyone upset. No, they're just trying to get us out of the country. And it very well may work, because that's really the only sensible thing, which I will now talk about. So they asked Romney, "You feel sorry about what you said?" And he doubled down on it. We really should double down on it, because you know what? We should have defended the freedom of speech. It's the cornerstone of our society. It's like the basic right that we have. And we should have defended it. But we didn't. Instead, we decided to cower and whimper and cry, and that's un-American. I don't like it. Then they went to Obama, and they say, "What do you plan to do about the Middle East, Mr. President?" No, he said, "So what do you think about Romney over there criticizing you?" What? You know what I would be more interested in hearing about from the president? I'd be more interested in hearing about what's he going to do about this situation. What's he going to do to keep our interests safe? Is he going to pull out? Is he going to send troops? What's he going to do? That's what I want to hear. Instead, we get all this fluff about how, "Oh, Romney's clearly not presidential. Look, he's already bungled this." No, he said what should have been said. We should have stood up for the freedom of speech. And, the liberals are supposed to really love the freedom of speech. That should be like the one thing they're willing to die about, but they're not. So, there you go. So, the question becomes, what are we going to do about this? And I'm going to be honest. Obama is screwed. Because there's nothing he can do. One, he's not a Ronald Reagan. He doesn't have the strength of personality where he can stare down another group of people and make them turn around. Two, even if he did, we're talking about a mob mentality, not a government. It's much harder to stare down a mob because, it's a mob. We're not really prone to just go in there and bomb cities just to kill civilians. I mean, we could, but it's not really our style. It's not our thing. Three, our military is already scattered all over the damn place. And quite honestly, even if they weren't, I don't think the American people are willing to go to war over this. And if so, who would the war be against? Because, like I said, it's not the government's that's doing it. It's their citizens. And here again, are we just going to bomb the hell out of citizens for no reason? So that's not going to work. So that leaves really two options for Obama. One, he can pull everyone out of the embassy, which is the best option. But if he does, it's going to look weak. It's going to look like we're running away with our tail between our legs. And in effect, we kind of are. But, you know, that just leaves option two. You leave them in there. And if you leave them in there, they're going to be overrun. We're going to have another Iran hostage situation. The Americans are going to die. And it's still going to look terrible. So, you know, pick your poison. If it was me, I would... Oh, and he's already said that he won't cut aid to them because that'll just make the situation worse. You know, what's the point of giving them aid if we're not going to use it as any kind of leverage? You know, this is what we should do. We should pull out all the people from the embassies because that's kind of a given. If we're not willing to go to war over it, those embassies are lost. We might as well bring them home and keep them alive and well. We can make up a pretty good diplomatic reason that kind of sounds like we're being proactive and not running away. Two, we need to cut all aid. And I don't mean just, you know, technological, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about even the food aid. I think we need to pull it all out and say, alright, you guys enjoy feeding yourselves. You guys enjoy paying for everything yourselves. We're out. If you attack Israel, we're going to bomb you off the face of the planet. Past that, you are on your own, kiddos. Because our money's not buying anything. We're just throwing it down a hole to people who hate us. So, you know, they hate America. They don't want anything from America. Okay, we can play along. Let's not give them anything. That's what should be done. But it won't be done, at least not by this president. So, that's my take on things. Anyway, I'm the author of 2084, Search for Love, Hope, and Faith. And basically it's about a government who slowly and surely destroys each and every single right you have. And when you finally do rebel, it's too late. They start giving you a drug to keep you happy, and we all become mindless robots, just working through life, just zombies. It's a very good book. It's a quick read. I think you'll like it. Check it out. My other book is War Journal, and basically it's my story of revenge and self-loathing and about the prisons that we make for ourselves. Check out my blog on swampfoxpress.com. That's swampfoxpress.com. You'll be swampfoxed! Anyway, it's a libertarian blog. I make a lot of good points, and I may very well change your mind about some things. It's very enlightening. Give it a try. You'll like it. Anyway, long live the Constitution, and signing off.